Okay, so one of the things that I have found the hardest in this journey around going from linen to a fabric and then trying to create products that people will purchase and use in their lives is that often people will talk about how expensive it is and that it's just so expensive. And so for me, it's like super important, like the value of having local fiber and then having local skilled people like yourself, weavers, who are able to make a decent living doing this and providing products for us. And so I'm just curious, like how do you feel, or how do you process, or how do you think about, like, if someone sees something you've made and they're just like, whoa, that is like way too expensive. Like, how do you think about that? Because also as a consumer myself, I also like realize that things cost money and I don't always have all kinds of money. Mm-hmm. So how do you sort of think about or communicate, or how do you think about that price point and then at the same time valuing your work?
Yeah, it's definitely tricky. I myself, as a consumer, have been in the place where I think, oh, that's really expensive. So I also have to constantly remind myself of the work and the effort and the time that goes into certain products. And once you start doing that, once you start counting those hours up in your head, you realize, oh, this actually is worth this amount of money. But it is hard because a lot of people don't know how weaving works. They don't know the amount of hours that realistically go into hand weaving something. And that's why a lot of weavers, they'll post process shots and stuff like that to really show people what goes into that process, which I think is great. I think it's really great that consumers can learn where their products come from and what it took to make those products in the first place. But yeah, it always, the weaving process always takes longer than I think it's gonna take. And that's just the way it is. That's just the nature of doing something handmade like this.
When did you decide you wanted to be a weaver?
So I went to NASCAD initially thinking that I was going to be a ceramicist. I was determined to be a potter. Both my parents went to NASCAD for pottery, so I thought it was just the natural next step. And then in my third year, I took intro weaving and I fell in love with fiber, and I did like a full 180 and just went fully over to weaving after that. It's always something I enjoyed. Like, I remember being a little girl and going into wool shops, and I think I sort of like lost that throughout my teenage years, and now I'm back to it. So it's always been there.
Yes. Thank you.